Record? Oh, there we go. So good morning, everybody. My thought for you I've been working with this week is inspired by a Buddhist story. It's from the Lotus Sutra, and it's the parable of the burning house. So if you want to go look it up, you absolutely can. But it's a story that's about a concept, or it references a concept called expedient means. And how the story goes is it said that there's a very wealthy man who owns this mansion, and it's a big sprawling mansion, and it takes up a lot of space, and it's old though, is the thing. And so it's kind of falling apart, it's rotting a little bit, and lots of people live there though. There's many, many people who live there. His family lives there. So it's this big sprawling estate that's beautiful, but it's falling apart. And the thing is there's only one gate. So there's only one way in and out of this estate. And everything's going fine, but one day a fire breaks out on sort of all sides of the house, and the house begins to burn. And the man escapes from the mansion, and he realizes that everybody else is still inside. His children are still inside, and they don't even realize that the house is on fire. So he's calling out to them saying, "Hey, the house is on fire. You have to come out. You're in danger. Please come out." And they don't hear him because they're too busy playing, or they hear him, but they ignore him. They go back to whatever it is that they're doing. And he realizes that they're so involved in their game, they're so involved in what they're looking at, that they don't realize the danger that they're in. They don't realize that there's pain that's coming their way. And he starts to wonder how he can get them out of the house. He thinks maybe I can run in and I can carry them out, but he's like, I'm not going to have enough time, and we're not all going to fit because there's only one gate. And he comes up with all of these things in his mind and realizes that none of them are going to work, that the only thing that's going to work is for them to come out of the house themselves. And so he comes up with a plan where he yells out to them, "Hey, I have these wonderful toys out here. I have these really fantastic things that you've always wanted. Everything that you've always wanted, I have it right here. And you can have it, but all you have to do is you have to leave the house. And I have it here for you." And so finally the children look up and they're like, "Really? You know, if someone offered you the thing that you've always wanted most in your life and says, all you have to do is come to where I am." And the children, finally, they leave the house and they come out to their father, and really all he has to give them, he doesn't have what he promised, but what he has to give them is a metaphor for the Buddhist teachings. And so that's what he gifts them, right? And this is what we call expedient means, is what does it take for you to step out of a reality that is built upon your own limited experience? Because that burning house is said to be, that's the metaphor for the material world. It's a metaphor for a world that is built upon only your own experience that comes through the filters of your mind. So it's limited. It's limited by what you've had exposure to, by what you have felt and how you've interpreted it. And we assume that that's the world because that's what we've experienced, and we don't even realize, most of us, many of us, that there's an experience that is so much bigger than that. And that there's a world that includes so much more interpretation or truth or understanding than what we are able to feel in our limited perspective. And so the story is that all of us are inside that burning house, and we don't realize it. Is that we're looking around thinking that what we know and what we're comfortable with is that that's what should stay there. That's what should stay steady, because that's how we know ourselves. But at the same time, those walls that we've built from our own experience are the walls that are built with our own suffering. And so we're asking for things to stay the same, even knowing that that means that the suffering that we have is going to stay the same. And so the story is about what it takes for you to decide to leave that experience on your own. What does it take for you to abandon a reality that is based on your own limited perspective, but that doesn't include the rest of the world, or that maybe doesn't include a truth that is beyond what you yourself have experienced? So this is what we practice, is expedient means, is what does it take you to be willing to step out of that burning house, or to even look up and realize that you're in a house that's burning, right? That there's suffering that's built into your life that doesn't have to continue. What does it take for you to agree that there's a way for you to live inside yourself and for the world that you know to change? What does it take? Whatever that is expedient means. So I've been teaching this week on trying to discover for ourselves that what is that one path, because there's a gate, one gate, right? Swami Satchidananda is quoted as saying this, is that there's one truth. There's one truth that binds all of us, binds everything. But the paths to get there are infinite, right? So the path that you take to understand that big truth is yours and yours alone. No one can give it to you. But the promise is the same. That's why every child who comes out of the house, they receive the same thing. It's the teachings. So the promise is the same, is that everything that you've ever wanted for yourself or for anyone else is there. It exists. But in order to really know it, feel it, embody it, you have to leave the burning house. You have to leave behind a reality that is built on just your experience alone. And that's the work that we do. So the expedient means is what makes you willing to do that work. Right? And so the Buddhists have their teachings, the yogis, we have our teachings, and it doesn't matter what you choose, but it matters that you choose. It matters that you pick something that's going to be your way out, or that's your way of at least acknowledging that there are parts of your inner world, your outer world, that are crumbling. And that instead of trying to keep them up, you can gracefully move through letting them fall. So comfortable seat if you're not there already. Let the eyes close. And I've been suggesting this week that your focus be on that part of your breath where the exhale is almost extinguished. The exhale is at its end, and something, you can feel that something is being lost. And in that moment, if you feel yourself clinging, realize that that's attachment. So can you relax in that moment of transition where something is ending and something new is beginning? Because that feeling of ending is part of the illusion. It's part of the burning house. So be in your body for a moment and feel where it is that you start to tense and cling. Those are the moments that we work with that feeling of I am attached to the way things are and I want it to stay this way no matter what. So follow those exhales to the end and watch as something disappears. Dissolving is the energy of Shiva. It's what brings us back to the one true nature that lives in every being. Not just human beings, but every being. The more we watch what is our external self disappear, even if it's just through our breath, we watch something disappear. We start to become clear on what that infinite self is, or what the possibility for there being a bigger truth is. One more deep breath in, fill yourself from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And then as you exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. And we'll open with the sound of Om, deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands from in front of your heart and then bring your hands to the front of your knees or your shins, wherever you're seated. Start to cat-cow your spine. Good. And I want you to use your arms as actual brackets here. So wherever the hands are touching, wherever the arms are touching, I want there to be actually a solid connection. So it's not just your hands resting there. I want your hands there so that as you lift your chest forward, you're dragging your arms back. You're pulling your chest between the structure of your arms. And then you're exhaling and you're doing the same thing, but you're bringing yourself into the back body between the structure of your arms. So move your spine, but use your arms as reference for how long can I get? Good. How expanded can I get? Good. It's a huge part of our practice of just simple awareness, of noticing where we start to cling. Where does our breath get stuck? Where do we start to tense with our effort? Where does our mind start to stop being open and it starts to narrow itself? If you can catch yourself in those moments, then you're able to do something. If you don't even know how to catch yourself, then you're like the children in the house. You don't even realize that you're in a house. You don't even realize that that house could be burning. So our first step is, can you catch yourself? Can you notice? Because then you can act. Good. Bring yourself back to stillness, please. Take your hands back behind your head, elbows wide. Yeah. And so press the head back into your hands so that you've got that long throat, and then bring your elbows slightly forward. So cup the elbows forward so your armpits hollow a little bit. And then as you bring your elbows forward, I want you to dig those elbow tips down. So they're coming forward and then they're pressing down so that your armpit area engages. And then again, press the back of your head into your hands. Good. So you're keeping that hollowing, but you're also using the throat to create pressure. Nice. Now lift the chest just a little bit higher. That's it. And now twist to your right, spinal twist. Keep your hands behind your head. Keep your elbows wide, but still hollowed at the armpits. Press your head back into your hands. Nice. And then come back to center. Good. Twist the other way. Watching that you're not leaning your torso in that direction, but that you're really letting your left rib cage spin backwards. So focus on, can I hollow my rib cage back? Can I move my ribs back in space and then let my right ribs turn a little bit more? Good. Come back to center. Go to the right again, spinal twist. Good. Keep that pressure of the head against the hands, that hollowing of the armpits, the lift of your collarbones. Good. Take your left hand now, because you're still twisted to the right. Take your left hand to your outer right knee. Good. And still hollow your ribs in. As soon as you've got hold of that leg, the tendency is to push the ribs forward. Draw them in. Drop your seat. And then lean to your left, please. So over your left thigh. Good. Press your head back into your hand. Don't extend the arm yet. Good. Because I want you to focus on ribs in, seat down. Good. Rotate the heart to the sky a little bit more. Yeah. Now extend the arm if you'd like. Maybe it feels better to keep the hand behind the head. Good. Nice, you guys. And then bring it all the way back up to center. Both hands back behind your head. Good. I see Ronnie making an owl face. Yeah, don't overdo it. Twist to your left. And that's the thing to notice too, is where do you overdo and why do you overdo? What are you trying to accomplish? Draw your ribs in, drop your seat. It's huge when you're twisting, is you have to stay settled in your seat. Otherwise the twist has nowhere to come from. It has nowhere to go. Right hand comes to your outer left knee. Good. And again, that's a reference. Keep those knees rooted down. Keep your seat rooted down. Lean to your right over the right thigh. Hands still behind your head, elbows still bent. Keep the head pressing back into your hands. Soften your ribs back. Good. And drop your left sit bone again. And then extend the arm to straight if you'd like, or keep the arm over your ear. Watch that that right shoulder isn't hiking up towards your ear. Good. Ribs in. Nice. And then bring it all the way back up to center. Good, you guys. Take your hands forward in front of you. So just walk forward, legs are crossed, forward fold. Nice. And in that forward fold, come up on your fingertips. Good. So your armpits are lifted, your elbows are lifted. And then I want you to press into your fingertips and drag back energetically. So you're putting pressure there and you're dragging back. So your chest lifts forward as you drag your hands back, and then push your seat back to the back and down to the floor. Good. And then walk your hands back in. Nice job. Roll forward to hands and knees. Nice, you guys. Good. Do a little hip circling, please. Good. Well, hi, Sherry. I didn't see you before. And then move your hips the other way, please, if you haven't. Nice. And then come back to stillness, please. Good. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, come back to downward facing dog. Yep. And then bend your elbows wide for a moment. Yeah, as the elbows bend wide, it's that same feeling at the lower armpits is where I want you to engage. See if you can squeeze there and use that to try and pull your shoulder blades up towards your hips. Good, and press through the crown of your head. And now squeeze your elbows towards each other so they rotate towards the back of your mat. Press through the thumb and first finger of your hands. Good, and then pull your hips back even more to let your arms come to straight and spread through your fingers. Yeah, I want the length of your arms to come from the length of your torso, so you're pulling back through the length of your spine, not just pushing into your arms. Right leg comes up and back, down dog split. Good, bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the right hip on top of the left, make little circles with that knee. Good, little circles with the knee means that your hip has to rotate. Good. There you go. Some of you are making big, exciting circles. That works too. You can make little exciting circles if you want. Good, come back to stillness, please, with that right hip lifted and open. Yeah, and then go ahead and step the right foot forward between the hands, lunge. Good, drop the back knee, use a blanket there if you'd like. Inhale the arms up to the sky, Anjaneyasana. Good, and then bend the elbows, take the hands back behind your head. Yep, hands behind your head. Good, same thing, spin the elbows forward just a little bit so that you're hollowing, and then press your head back into your hands. You're gonna get that same feeling of engagement in the shoulders, but just pulling through the armpits is not gonna make a lot of space in your chest. So lift your chest a little higher, start to drop your head back into your hands. Pull up from the space below your belly button. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Good, heart to the sky. Nice, and then keep yourself there, just let your hands drop down, reaching towards the floor. So chest stays super high, but release the hands down, palms facing forward. Good. Yeah. Palms facing forward. Open the chest. So arms alongside you, Mark. Yeah. And then sweep those arms up alongside your ears. Big stretch. Beautiful. All the way back up to center. Release the hands down to the floor. Nice, you guys. Lift your back knee up. Yep, back knee lifts. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Inhale, both arms up to the sky. High lunge. Good, and then cross your wrists overhead, so your wrists come over top of each other, and then turn your palms towards each other. Good, and then bend the elbows, please. So you're pressing your palms against each other, bend your elbows. Good, Jane, bend your elbows. Bend your elbows, bend your elbows. There you go. Good, so you're pressing the hands together, but the elbows are bent, and then you're feeling that lift of your chest. Good, front knee is over the front ankle. Yeah, from below your belly button, lift up. And then hollow your armpits again. Draw the armpits slightly forward. Draw your ribs back and in. Lift. Bend those elbows one more time. Press through the hands. Lift your chest. Good. And then release, please. Taking the hands back down to the floor. Downward facing dog. And if in your head you're like, why do we have to do all that in high lunge? Because. Because your legs need to be awake. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good, lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need, all the way to your belly. And then point your toes back behind you, stretch your arms back behind you, reaching towards your feet, palms facing down. Good, press into the front of your pelvis, float your legs up off the floor, and then lift head, neck, and chest, come into locust pose, float the hands up off the floor. Good, back of your throat is long, drop the chin slightly towards your chest so that you're not looking forward so much, and instead push through the crown of your head. Good. And then float the arms up a little higher. And then maybe even turn your palms out, pinkies down and thumbs up, like you're hitchhiking. There you go. Good. And then slowly release back to your belly, please. Bend the elbows, plant your hands alongside your ribs like you would for Cobra. And then press down and drag back, lift up head, neck, and chest. Again, like you're pulling your chest forward between your hands. Nice. Drop the chin again towards your chest. Press through the back of your head, back of your throat. Good. And then downward facing dog. Nice, you guys. Left leg comes up and back, down dog split. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the left hip on top of the right, make little circles with your knee. Good. So choosing your path, choosing your practice is not quite good enough to just say, well, I practice yoga and I do whatever the teacher suggests that I do. It really matters that you are choosing something that you embody in every moment of your life. So especially when you're not on your yoga mat, what are you doing? Lift that left knee higher, come to stillness. Good. And then step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Drop the back knee, Anjaneyasana asana. You can use a blanket there if you need, and then take the arms up. Good. So turn your palms forward and then bend your elbows out wide, cactus arms. And as you do that, so take your arms back up again, because again, it's easy to just take our arms passively into that position. I want you to feel that when you bring those arms down and wide into cactus arms, it's like you're doing a pull-up. So you're dragging your arms down in space to pull your chest higher. So I want you to feel that. So drag those arms down as your chest lifts up, 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 up. And then bring those elbows, spin them forward, and your palms move back, and your chest lifts higher, and your throat goes back. So you're finding that back bend, but here you don't have your hands as reference. Elbows forward. From below your belly button, pull up. Good. Now extend the arms up alongside your ears and make that part of a longer extension. Don't come out of the lunge. Keep your knee over your ankle. Nice, Nancy. Keep it there. You got it. Good. And then bring yourself all the way back up. Release the hands down to the floor. Good job. Lift that back knee. Good. And then come into high lunge, squeezing the feet together. Take the arms up. Nice. And then you're crossing the wrists again. If you can remember which one you put in front before, put the other one in front. And again, my rule is if you can't remember, whatever your instinct is, do the opposite. Turn your palms towards each other, bend the elbows out wide. Good. And that same feeling that the elbows bending is you dragging your armpits down in space, and your armpits drag down so your chest lifts. Good. And below your belly button pulls in and up. And that front knee is moving a little bit wider towards the baby toe. So Laura, move your knee a little wider. Good. Tracy, a little wider. Nice. And then you're finding your breath here, dragging those armpits down as the elbows bend and your chest lifts. Beautiful. We forget that the practice of asana is to remind yourself that if you don't put the energy and the power into your movements, into your breath, that it can't come from anywhere else. So what you feel in your asana is completely dependent on what kind of attention you put into your asana. Good. Release those arms, please. Take the hands back down to the floor. Downward facing dog. Nice. So we can go through the postures and maybe feel a little bit of something, but not too much. Or we can go through the postures as though it's the only experience that we've ever had. Come forward to plank pose. Armpits over your wrists. Good. Drop that right knee down to the floor underneath your hip. Good. Take your left heel flat to the floor. Take the right arm up to the sky. Sorry, left arm up to the sky. Good. Deep breath in. And then as you exhale, wrap that left hand around the front of you. So take it underneath your right armpit. Good. Wrap underneath. That's it. Curl into yourself. Yep. That arm comes all the way under. Yeah. And then good. Inhale. Take it all the way back up. You got it. Open the chest. Yeah. And then exhale. Bring it around and underneath you. So I want you to feel that that left heel stays steady so that your pelvis stays a little bit more open. Take the arm back up. Inhale. One more time. Exhale. Bring that arm underneath you. Good. And then take that arm back up to the sky. Beautiful. And then take that left hand to your left hip. Push your hip up into your hand. So you're powering up that back thigh even more. So keep the foot on the ground, Alana. Yeah, you're just pushing your hip up. So you're changing your weight distribution towards that back leg. And then right hand holds you. Hug that shoulder blade up. Squeeze into your navel. Lift your right knee up off the floor. Yep. So not the back leg, the knee that's supporting you. Pull it up. Push that left hip up, 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 up. You can even round through your ribs, arch through your ribs. Good. Really good. Nice. And then release that knee back down to the floor. Good job, you guys. Come back to hands and knees. Take a child's pose. Because I was told to be kind. Which I kind of love, right? We think that whatever we're doing in our life is we're like, but I'm always kind. And then someone says, but maybe you could be more kind. And the answer is, you're right. The answer is that it's always possible for us to change the way we interact in the world, especially if someone is telling us that they need us to. Good. Take another deep breath, maybe reaching your hands back for your heels instead of having them extended in front of you. Feel what it feels like to do your pose different. Good. And then bring yourself back up to hands and knees. Good. Step your feet back to plank pose, upward push-up. Nice. Yeah, lift through the back of your throat, draw your ribs in. And then I want you to feel this little scoop of the front of your pelvis. So the front of your pelvic points are pulling forward and your tail is lengthening towards your heels. So if your butt is popping up, it's going to draw that lower part of your spine longer. And then your chest pulls forward, almost like you're dragging yourself into cobra. Good. Nice. And then left knee comes down to the floor underneath you. Yep. Right heel comes flat to the floor. And then right arm comes to the sky. Open. Good. The whole time you're here, you're pushing through that left shin. So it's not just the knee that's supporting you, it's the whole leg. Good. Deep breath in. And then wrap that arm around underneath your ribs. So take it behind that left armpit. Good. And then inhale, take the arms back up. Yeah, you got it. You're doing it right, Nancy. You got it, Parrot. Good. And then exhale, wrap it under again. So you're rounding into your back body when you do that. Don't just lean forward. I want you to cat into your back body. And then take the arm back up, throat back. Good. One more time, curl it under, reach around underneath you. Keep that right ankle, that right foot flat to the floor. Good. And then take the arm back up to the sky. Nice. So stay there. Take the right hand to your right hip. Good. And push your hip up into your hand. So you're changing your weight distribution. It means you got to move your weight back into that right foot a little bit more so that your right thigh can lift up a little higher. Good. And then you're hugging that left shoulder up into your chest. You're hugging it up into the middle of your back. And then lift that left knee up off the floor. So you got to use that back thigh. You got to use the power of your navel. Hug in and hover that left knee up. And if you've got it lifted, pull it forward towards your armpit. Pull it forward towards your left wrist. There you go. Yeah. Awesome, you guys. Release that knee down to the floor. Good job. Come back to hands and knees. Child's pose. Good. Again, options are to maybe bend your elbows and make a pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. It's a nice release for the upper back. Good. And again, it's finding that individual way. How you feel in child's pose is not the same way that I feel in child's pose. So we can give the same cues, and we know that in general, they're good cues or they work, but you also have to know if one position makes you start to grip, it's not the right position. Adjust it. Be willing to tear down the walls of your own house over and over and over again. Keep remodeling. It's the definition of moksha, of freedom, is I'm not bound by my experiences. I'm not bound only by what my senses know. Come back up to hands and knees. Downward facing dog. And it takes a while to do that deconstructing, right? So we start practicing and we get really excited that our whole world is going to change, and then nothing changes very fast and we get frustrated and exhausted and we say, forget it. I'm just going to go eat potato chips. Right leg up and back behind you, down dog split, or whatever your favorite escape is. Good. Step that foot forward between your hands, please. Lunge. Good. Back heel comes to the floor. Baby toe parallels the back of your mat. Come into warrior two. Yeah. And then turn your palms up to face, turn your thumbs up to face the ceiling. So your palms are facing forward. And you're going to take your right hand, that's your front hand, back to meet your left. So you're turning your ribs. Take that right arm across the front of your body to meet your left hand. So it's like you're trying to clap your right hand to your left. There you go. And now widen that right inner knee back towards the second toe of your foot. There you go, Jen. Good job. But your ribs are still turning a lot to the left. Good. That's what we're aiming for, is that rotation of the ribs. Now keep your ribs facing that way. Take the right arm back towards the front of your mat. Good. You can take your gaze back towards the front of your mat, but don't let your ribs turn forward. Nice. Back thigh gets a little stronger. Beautiful. And then take the left hand down the back thigh. Right arm reaches up and back. Don't let your ribs turn forward when you do that. Keep that rotation moving back. Left rib cage moving back. Good. Scoop your low belly here. Send that right thigh forward a little more and squeeze that right heel back. Beautiful. Bring it back up to center, please. Good. Straighten your front thigh. like you're coming into triangle pose. Watch that your knee doesn't fall in or out as you start to straighten it. And then extend the right rib cage forward as far as you can, pause. Turn that left rib cage up towards the sky. The same thing you did in Warrior Two, do it again. Good. And then start to let that right hand come down to the inside of your right foot. So I want your forearm pressing against your shin and your shin pressing against your forearm. I love it if you do not use a block. If you need a block, use it, but still have that pressing of the forearm against the shin. Good. And then watch that left shoulder that your hand hollows forward. So bring that arm so that it points straight out from your chest. So instead of up to the sky, make it parallel the floor. Yep, straight out from your shoulder. So it's paralleling the floor. You got it. And then pull that arm back and into the shoulder socket and feel your left rib cage move back and open. Good. Now start to take that arm up only to the point where there is no pull, literally no pull through the front of your shoulder. As soon as you feel pull, you got to take your hand forward more. Good. If you want to open more, you got to bring your chest back and you got to turn your left rib cage up. And don't complain, because that's what true opening feels like. Beautiful. Bend that right knee, please. Release both hands down to the floor. Good. Keep that back heel where it is. Just release both hands down to the floor. And then walk to your left just a little bit until you start to feel resistance. Keep that right knee pointing forward. Good. Yep. Keep widening the knee. So Andra, knee a little wider. Ronnie, knee a little wider. Debbie O, knee a little wider. Tara, knee a little wider. If I haven't said your names, just because I haven't gotten to it yet, move your knee a little wider. Good. One more breath, bend your elbows, drop yourself lower. Beautiful. And then hands come back in and walk all the way to your left until you can come to the middle of your mat, straighten the legs, turn the toes, bow forward like you're in child's pose. Because this should feel a little like it's a child's pose after all of that. Good. Choosing the path that helps you step out of your own limited reality, your own limited perspective. And then realizing that it's going to take a while. Do any little movements here that you'd like. If you want to sway from side to side or hold opposite elbows, do it. If you want to walk your hands forward, actually, let's all do that. Walk your hands forward so you're in a nice wide-legged downward facing dog. Good. It's going to take a while, potentially, for whatever you choose to reach that foundational part of you where you feel like things are changing in a dramatic way. It doesn't mean that all of the work that you put in doesn't matter or that it doesn't have meaning. Good. Walk yourself back in, please. Right hand reaches for outer left ankle or shin, so cross your body. And then take the left arm up to the sky or to your lower back. If reaching that arm all the way up feels like you're just yanking through your shoulder, then bend the elbow, place the hand at your lower back, and really work with that feeling of, can I open my rib cage more and keep my lower spine engaged? So tuck into that low belly. Good. Push your hips up towards the sky. Nice. And then release and come back to center. Go the other way. So left hand reaching for outer right ankle or shin. Right arm comes to the sky, or again, hand to your lower back. And if your hand is at your lower back, you can feel even more strongly that when you curl into your low belly, so everybody curl into your low belly, so round into your low back, and then push your sacrum up towards the ceiling. So not arching your back, but pushing up. Good. And then you can lengthen your armpit forward away from your pelvis and let your head and your heart fall back towards that upper left-hand corner of your mat. And suddenly you've got a twist that extends your side body. Good. And then release back towards center, please. Nice job. Pause there for a moment and then walk back to the top of your mat. Turn your toes, downward facing dog. Good. Drop your knees to the floor. Walk your hands forward like you're doing a modified downward facing dog. So walk forward, keep your hips on top of your knees, come up on your fingertips. Good. And then you're curling into your spine first, so round, so that you actually lift your belly up off of your hip points. Good. And then I want you to keep that amount of space, but then start to pull your arms energetically, your hands are not going to move. Pull your arms back up into your shoulder socket and push your collarbones forward and lift through the back of your throat. So from your middle ribs, start to extend your spine, but keep that hollowness in your belly. Good. Chest expands, walk the fingertips forward, maybe a little bit more. And then can you keep that engagement at your low belly, but start to drop your heart towards the floor, any amount. Again, softening. Pull the tops of the thighs back. Don't let your hips move forward. Good. You're still hollowing that space between your belly and your hip points, but you're dropping your chest towards the floor. You're getting softer. Don't get aggressive, get softer. Good. One more breath, however far you're gonna go. Drop the chest between the arms. Nice. And then walk the hands back in. Beautiful. Step back to plank pose. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Really nice, Heidi. Good. Point your toes, stretch your arms, reaching back towards your feet. Locust pose, so lifting the legs up off of the floor, lift head, neck, and chest as well. Float your arms up. So do this for me for a second. Take your fingertips back to the floor. So your palms are facing down, your legs are lifted. Just take your fingertips back to the floor, still in locust, so arms are straight. Arms are straight, but fingertips on the floor. Good. So push your hands into the floor and feel the lift of your upper chest. By pushing your hands down, feel your chest lift more. Good. And then maintain that and just float your arms up. Good. And breathe wide through the back of your heart. Nice. And then release back to your belly. Good. Forehead to the floor. Bend your elbows. Take your hands alongside your ribs, but then walk your hands wide. So a wide-armed cobra. Walk your hands off of your mat. Come up on your fingertips. Elbows point up towards the ceiling. So roll your arm bones forward so that you can have that openness of your upper back. And then start to press into your legs. Drag the heart forward. Lift up into your cobra with the arms wide. Elbows stay bent. Good. And I want you to keep feeling that rotation of the arms and the shoulder blades as you lift your chest forward more. Good. So you're digging the bottom tips of your shoulder blades down and in to lift your chest up, and your ribs draw in and your throat gets longer so that you don't get hunched between your shoulders and ears. Really nice, you guys. You should be able to turn your head. Yeah. Good. One more deep breath. Get wide in your chest. And then release back down. Nice job. Downward facing dog. Good. Left foot steps forward between the hands, I think. Drop the back heel down to the floor. Cartwheel the arms up to warrior two. Good. Turn your thumbs up towards the ceiling so your palms are facing straight ahead. Watch that front knee that it's pointing towards second toe. And then you're taking your front hand, that's your left hand, back to meet your right. So reach back around in front of you. So you're turning your ribs towards the right. And then that front knee has to move wider to the left. So move that inner knee wider, everybody. There you go. Good. And then keep your ribs turned this way, but bring the left hand back towards the top of your mat. And you can bring your gaze forward, but watch that as soon as your gaze comes forward, you don't bring your ribs forward. Good. And then right hand drops down the back thigh, left arm reaches up and back, still turning your ribs towards the back of your mat, towards that back leg. And front knee goes wide towards the left. Good. And this is the thing, right? Wherever our eyes go, wherever our focus is on, is everything turns in that direction. And we forget that we are trying to hold something else steady. Good. And then bring yourself back up to center, please. Straighten that front thigh. Nice. And then reaching for a triangle, extend that left arm forward, left rib cage forward. Good. Pause. Turn the right rib cage up towards the ceiling. Rotate more. There you go. And then let that left hand come down to the inside of your shin. And again, if you do not need a block here, I suggest you don't use one. If you want a block, or a block is really your expedient means, use it, but still try and find where you can press your shin against your forearm and your forearm against your shin. So try and move your block so that that works. Good, Tracy. Good. And then you're working on, can I feel my right rib cage going higher up towards the sky? And my left butt cheek is drawing in and back. Good. Nice, you guys, and your throat is long. Good, and then watch that pull through the front of your right shoulder. Maybe bring the arm parallel to the floor, so straight out from your chest again. And then pull the arm back in space. You move the arm into the shoulder socket and then start to take the arm back up, but just to the point where there is literally no pull, not an ounce of pull through the front of your shoulder joint. I want you to feel just your ribs rotating. Good. And then go ahead and release. Bend that left knee. Keep your back heel on the floor, both hands to the inside of the front foot. So legs are still in warrior two, but both hands to the floor. Walk to your right just a little bit until you feel resistance. Keep that front knee pointing straight ahead. Good. Nice, you guys. Keep practicing. You stay the steady course of realizing where your imaginary walls are. Walk all the way to your right, please, until you come to the center of your mat, straightening the legs, forward fold. Good. Give a little bend to your knees so your shins move forward again. Yeah. And then scoop your belly, push your butt up towards the sky, and drop your heart a little lower. Nice, Fred. Good. Remember, Krishna Das telling a story about chanting, of course, because that's his practice. And chanting and chanting and chanting for hours and hours and hours. And he says it's boring. So boring. But you do it until something happens. He says he's grateful for those times when he was asked to chant like marathon hours, because it made him get to a place where he would do the practice until something happened. So what does it take for you to do your practice in a way where you are so committed to it that you'll keep doing it, as boring as it is, as repetitive as it is, as much as it doesn't look like it's making any difference? You'll keep doing it until something happens. Walk your hands back in, walk back towards the top of your mat. Downward facing dog. Good. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Point the toes back behind you, but bend your knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Keep your hands alongside your ribs. Good. So the thighs press down, the knees press down. Front of your pelvis is going to scoop forward. So you're bringing those hip points forward again. Tail moves towards your heels. And then you're pressing into your hands just like Cobra. You're just doing Cobra with your knees bent. Lift up head, neck, and chest. Press those thighs down. Back of the heart draws up, 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 up. Good. Heels are going to meet the back of your head if you keep going. Yeah. So keep reaching. You're dragging your heart forward. Good. Nancy, keep those arms pulling back and chest lift so that you really feel that stretch at the front of the body. Good. Doesn't matter how high you come. It matters how long you extend from your thighs to your collarbones. And then release back down. Nice, you guys. Or let the legs go. Turn one cheek to the side, or again, make a pillow with your hands. Rest the forehead. Good. You can wiggle the hips from side to side if they need it. Good. And keep catching yourself on those exhales. It's interesting that in almost every meditative technique or breathing technique that I've seen is that when we're asked to bring awareness to ourselves, it's not to bring awareness to yourself on the inhale. It's almost always said to look for it at the exhale. It's almost always to look at the point where something is leaving or disappearing, not when something is beginning. Can you find yourself in that moment and watch for contraction? Watch for holding. Watch for what your mind clings to, that it doesn't want to go away or it doesn't want to change. Your expedient means. What will convince you to step out of your own version of reality into a reality that is bigger? What promises do you need to make to yourself and keep for that to happen? Been suggesting the yamas and niyamas is a place to start. Again, if you're wondering what yoga would use as expedient means besides just meditation, it's the yamas and niyamas. This is how you live in the world and maintain peace in yourself. You don't have to do all of them. You can pick just one, because if we perfect any one of them, it will automatically bring you to a great awareness, if not perfection, of all the others. So don't get overwhelmed because there's so much to do. Pick one path and follow it steadfast. Walk your hands back alongside your ribs, please. Good. Press back, downward facing dog. Nice. So right leg up and back behind you. We're coming into pigeon. So if you need to do pigeon on your back, you are welcome to set yourself up for that. So right knee comes forward and wide towards the right wrist. Set yourself up pigeon. Good. Slide that left leg back. Good. And if you are upright in pigeon, I want you to stay upright. So pressing through the legs, press into that right shin, flex the foot or push the foot into the floor. And then again, from below your belly button, curl in. So you're bringing more space to your lower back. Yep. And it's like you're rotating your sit bones and your buttocks down towards the floor. Good. So do that for a moment. And then start to walk yourself forward, but keep that fullness in your back. Good. So as you come down to the floor, you're not arching into your lower back and you're not dropping the front of your pelvis onto your shin. I want you to keep that rotation of your buttocks trying to rotate towards the floor. Nice. And then it's whatever your comfortable arm position is. Good. Keep pushing back through your pelvis. We forget to do it in pigeon all the time because it's not convenient to do it. Good. One more breath. I'm going to walk yourself back up, please. Good. Sit towards that right hip. Swing the left leg around in front of you. You're going to you're coming straight into fire log, so hip opener to hip opener. So you can move that right shin forward a little bit more, so it's a little bit closer to parallel to the top of your mat. And then your left ankle is going to stack on top of your right knee. Good. And if that doesn't work, you can move the foot a little wider so that your heel is to the inside of the right knee crease. Or if that doesn't work, left shin in front of right, cross-legged with your feet flexed. Good. So you're choosing your next hip opener. Good. You can always put a prop underneath that left knee too, if your ankle to knee, but the knee is lifted high, and put a prop there. Good. And then either hands back behind you, keeping your spine nice and long, or take a forward fold if that feels like it's a useful possibility. Your knees will tell you very quickly if it's not. Good. If you were leaning back into your hands, just make sure that you keep your seat anchored to the floor so that that leaning back doesn't cause you to lift your pelvis up off the floor. Keep it rooted down. Nice. Agni Stambhasana. Fire log. So literally the fuel for that inner fire for the tapas. What fuels you to do your practice? What fuels you to continue to push beyond what is comfortable? That's what tapas is. It's not to make yourself miserable, but it's an agreement that you being comfortable is not the goal. And if your comfort is based on sameness, then eventually you are going to have that disrupted. That's the burning house. Eventually that pain is going to come to you and you realize that that sameness that you're relying on can't stay. So what's your fuel? Your expedient means. Slowly release, bring yourself all the way back up. Good, unwind your legs, please. Take them straight out in front of you. Yep. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Paschimottanasana, so the legs are straight. Reach forward, take your forward fold, reaching beyond the feet. As you reach forward, push your butt and your groins and tops of your thighs back. Good. Nice. I like seeing you guys adapt with all the fun things you have in your house, using furniture and tools and stuff. It makes you think, right, that this practice is traditionally, it said it began with people in caves, right? They had nothing. And so what do we rely on? We rely on our props and our mats and our this, that, and the other thing. You need nothing to practice kindness. You need nothing to practice openness. You need nothing to practice liberation, except the willingness to do it. Walk yourself back up. Good. Cross your ankles, roll forward to hands and knees. Coming back to downward facing dog. We're going to pigeon on the other side. So if you're doing pigeon on your back, you can come back onto your back. Good. Left leg up, down dog split. And again, the point of that is to extend, is to pull out through that heel so that you get that full openness from your thigh all the way through the front of your pelvis. So if you're just lifting your leg because that's what we habitually do, realize that that's what we're doing. And then bring the left knee forward and wide. Good. Find your pigeon. And again, stay upright for a moment so that you can keep your fingers on the floor or blocks. And I want you to round into your lower back, round into your lower belly. So you're keeping that fullness, you're rotating your tail down, you're rotating your buttocks down. So it's not a full tuck, but you're lengthening. And then you can let your hands walk forward and find that resting pigeon. But don't let your pelvis collapse. Good. Keep that back hip spinning forward. Good. As much as you notice where there is gripping in you, I want you to also notice where there's fidgeting. We absolutely have to keep modifying when the body tells us that we need to change something, but when we fidget, our movements are not really purposeful. We're just trying to get away from discomfort. It's a habit that the mind gets used to doing. It fidgets in everything that we do. Can you practice lengthening your exhales and just noticing if you're fidgeting, how can you move in a way that's going to allow you to become still? Make your movements purposeful. Make your actions purposeful because they are an extension of your practice. Getting to know yourself on that deeper level beyond the body and beyond the mind. That's what we say is that is the goal of yoga. So if you are doing that all the time, then everything you do in the world is an extension of your practice. They're not different, not one and then the other. If we continue to separate them, then we have a burning house. It's a suggestion that maybe this is a time to examine what your practice means to you, what your life means to you. What comfort means to you. One more breath. And walk your hands back in. Good. Sit towards that left hip so you can swing your right leg around. So you're coming into fire log, stacking the right heel on top of the left knee. So I suggest you move your left heel forward a little bit more so your left shin comes closer to parallel to the top of your mat. And then stack the right leg on top, either heel to knee or heel to the knee crease, so a little bit wider, or you have right shin in front of left with the feet flexed. And again, you can use a prop underneath that knee if you need. Good. And then fingertips either come behind you to help lift your spine, keep you nice and lengthened, or you can take a forward fold if that feels like it's where your body wants to go. Good. And again, if you are leaning back into the hands, just make sure that your seat stays settled. Your groins are rolling down. Good. Keep your feet flexed if you're in fire log, especially. Remember that when we talk about tapas, discomfort is, again, not the goal. It's just a recognition that that's part of the reality. Is that if you keep finding your edges, you're going to keep finding those things that make you uncomfortable, because sameness is not sustainable. So if we learn not to rely on things staying the same for our happiness, our peace, our comfort, and we are less disturbed by the world because it is the way that it is. Changes all the time. Dramatic ways, simple ways, painful ways. You engage in the world, but you don't forget that it is your reality that is shifting with every experience that you have. And that your reality from what you have experienced is not the whole reality. So don't get attached. Walk yourself back up. Good. Slowly release the legs, extend them straight out in front of you. Good. Plant your hands alongside you or slightly back behind your hips. Fingers pointing forward if you can. If you need to turn the hands out a little bit more for the shoulders, you can do that as well. But legs straight. Point your toes towards the floor. Good. And then you're leaning back into your hands. Bend your elbows just a little bit so that you can lift your chest and squeeze those upper arms towards each other so you're engaging the upper back. And then you're lifting from your inner thighs, navel in. Pull your ribs in. So this is reverse plank. So make your body feel like plank. Lift your butt up off the floor, inner thighs lift. If the legs being straight is too much strain on the back or the shoulders, bend your knees and come into reverse table instead. So plant the feet, knees bent, and lift the hips. But if you can, keep the legs straight and really feel that feeling of I'm in plank and I'm engaging my back, I'm engaging my legs, I'm squeezing my ribs and the top of my pelvis towards each other. Big breath in. And then release the hips down to the floor. Good. Flex the feet. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Bow forward. Good. Press your thighs down. Press your butt back. Good. And then walk yourself back up. Please keep your legs straight. Take your hands alongside your hips. Press your hands straight down. So if your hands don't reach the floor flat, you're either coming up to fingertips, because we have short arms like mine, they might not reach. So fingertips to the floor, or you can place blocks underneath your hands if you don't have a flat surface. Dandasana, so legs are straight. You're using every inner engagement you've got. So you're pushing your hands down into the floor, you're lifting your chest, you're pushing your butt down, extend out through your legs, push your heels down. Good. Feel the back extending, seat drops, throat is long, chin is neutral. Pushing through the crown of your head, pushing through your hands, lifting your chest, pressing out through your heels. All directions expand. And then let the eyes close, go in and stay in that state of expansion through this limited body and through this limited mind. The body and the mind is how you focus your perception. It's how the world comes into that infinite space that is you. but don't get attached to the way that it looked a moment ago. Feel your whole self. Good. One more breath. Squeeze everything. Flex your feet. Press into your hands. And then release. Nice. I think that's my favorite pose. Come forward a little bit so you can come onto your backs. Yep, onto your backs. Good. And then bending your knees, plant your feet. Take your arms into robot arms. So elbows to the floor, fingers pointing up towards the sky. Press down into the upper arms. Keep your feet on the floor. Rotate your pelvis forward. So it's like you're arching your lower back. So you're sending your groins down. You're sending your tail down towards your heels. Good. So that's the anterior tilt of your pelvis forward. Good. And then press into the arms and start to arch the heart like you would for fish pose. So butt stays on the floor, but from the back of your heart, reach up, 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 push into your hands, and basically come into fish. I want you to find that fish pose here. So the heart lifts, ribs lift, and maybe you come up high enough where you can take the top of your head to the floor. Good. Keep your butt on the floor. If you can't find full fish here, that's fine. Just keep working through that length of your spine, the muscles of your back, your groins. But you got to squeeze. Good. Butt to the floor. I know it's really hard not to squeeze your butt and try to make your butt do the work. That's why I have your legs in this position. And then slowly release. Awesome. Release the arms. Nice, you guys. Take your right ankle on top of your left thigh. Good. Lift the left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold. Good. I like that if you're reaching through to hold, that you have the option here to really feel something to push back against. I know mantra for 2020 was no hands, but sometimes hands help. So don't stay stuck in, it always has to be this way. In your own practice saying, I'm embodying this, or this is my mantra, if you never allow it to change organically as it needs to be adjusted or it needs to change for the moment, then you're not understanding exactly what it is or completely what it is. Good. Release the thigh, slide that right leg all the way on top of the left so the knees are stacked. Separate the feet, reach for your ankles or your shins. Good. And then release and unwind the legs, hug the knees in towards the chest. And then place the feet back down on the floor and go the other way. So left ankle on top of right thigh. Good. Lift the right shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold. Again, so you have something to push your thigh back against. Feet are flexed, both feet. The way you live in yourself and the way you live in the world are intricately tied to each other. Pay attention to the places in you where the gripping happens, where the attachment happens, where the desire for sameness happens. Desire for comfort above everything happens. Put a little more weight on that right side of your sacrum, please. Yep. Good. And then release the hold on your thigh. Please slide the left leg all the way on top of the right so the knees are stacked. Separate your feet, reach for your ankles or your shins. Good, so Sherry, cross your knees more if you can. Even more, yeah, even more. Good, low back to the floor. And then slowly release the legs, hug the knees in towards the chest. Good. And then stretch the legs out in front of you, please. Yep, all the way out. Walk your feet to the bottom right-hand corner of your mat. Cross one ankle over the other. Move your shoulders to the upper right-hand corner of your mat, so you're curling side body. And then maybe hold opposite elbows or wrists. So you're stretching through the left side body. Good. Try to allow the width of your sacrum to stay on the floor so you're not rolling that left hip up. Breathe. Again, if having the arms overhead, which is the suggestion, doesn't work, you can choose any other position that does. Or if the arms are overhead, maybe you need to put a block or something underneath your hands so that there's not so much pull on the shoulders. There you go, Andra. Good. And then slowly unwind, come to a big letter X. So your feet are wide, your arms are wide. You're either enjoying laying under the sky or, you know, if your mind goes to strange places, you're staked out for the ants to eat. An old Western or something. Either way, that feeling of surrender. Wide open. And if you find your breath catching on that thought, notice it. So what am I not willing to surrender? What am I not willing to surrender to? And then slowly bring yourself back in. Move your feet to the bottom left-hand corner of your mat, crossing one ankle over. Shoulders to the upper left-hand corner of your mat. And again, arms overhead is the suggestion, if that's possible, holding opposite wrists or elbows. But again, if the arms do not appreciate that position or the shoulders don't appreciate it, choose something else. And try to keep that width on your sacrum so that you're not rolling to your left side in this position, but you're trying to still allow the right side sacrum and the right side rib cage to stay soft on the floor. And breathe through your side ribs, side of your hip. So you notice, right, that if your routine has become one that is very limited, as all of ours have become more limited, you start to get stiff. That was the complaint in the earlier in class. Everyone's feeling stiff. And the body is feeling stiff because it's not being given the freedom to move the way that it was. The mind becomes stiff because it's when it's not being given the ability to go beyond its own boundaries. And both are the result of too much sameness. I want you to find the edges in yourself with your breath, with your thoughts. And just wonder what it would take or what would be your path to extend yourself a little further beyond what you know. Slowly bring yourself back to that big letter X. And then from there, just soften that expansion until you come into Shavasana, bringing the feet a little closer together, dropping the arms alongside you, palms facing up. And then in Shavasana, just notice if there is a desire to grip, parts of you are gripping. And notice also if you fidget. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Letting the body begin to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, let the knees come in towards your chest. Roll to your right side. And take a moment there before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm, rub your palms together. We're doing this all week too. Rub your palms fast, hard. Yeah, fast enough so your hand's set on fire. Go. Feel it, feel it, feel it. Good, faster. Nice. And then steady the palms at the heart and feel that heat radiate. So we practice to do exactly that, to ignite what we have inside of us, to ignite the energy that you have to break down your own reality, or to at least be willing to step beyond it. Because if breaking it down sounds like it's too dramatic, then don't think of it that way. But in all of the teachings, it said that when you're in that moment of destruction, when you're in that moment when things are disappearing, and there's the voice of the divine that says, what are you mourning? You're not losing anything, because it was all going to change anyway. It's only in your mind that you thought you could keep it the same. So we get comfortable in the reality that everything is changing. The house is already burning, not your fault. But you are the only one that has the ability to step out of it. So what does stay the same is you choose a path, the path that your heart says, this is my way through. And that stays the same eternally. Those are the teachings. They show up in a lot of different words, a lot of different ways, but the path is the same. Teachings are the same. So if you keep reaching for that, then everything can change, but you will know yourself through it all. The first step is the awareness, though, of realizing that you're in a house that's crumbling. You're in a reality that by its nature is going to be destroyed. Don't hang on to it. That's why they say attachment is the root of suffering. Don't hang on. Breathe deeper, choose your path, follow it 100%. Use everything in you to follow it, and you'll come through. And the world will change because you have changed it. You've stepped into that bigger space. Close with the sound of Om, deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody. Thank you guys so, so much. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week until I see you again. I will unmute you so you can tell me how wonderfully kind I was.
Thank you.
Is there meditation today?
Awesome.
Yes, meditation today in a few minutes, so 11:30. If you're staying for meditation, you don't have to sign out. You can just stay. If you do need to sign out and sign back in, you can, but 11:30 to 12, we're meditating. So if you'd like to stay, I'd love for you to stay. It's free.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope you got all